Hi, if you're a coach or consultant, please stick with me because today I have an expert. He is an entrepreneur podcaster, founder of Smashing the Plateau, David Shriner-Cahn. Please help me welcome David. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Mohammed. Great to be with you.
Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who were you surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
Well, it's not necessarily just one person, but I spent the first 28 years of my professional life as an employee and the last 15 years as an entrepreneur. There are a number of people along the way while I was an employee who inspired me to take the plunge and become an entrepreneur. I wanted to have more control over my own destiny. And so in 2006, I started my own business.
What are top three mistakes to avoid?
Um, Spending too much time trying to get it perfect rather than just getting it started. That's a big one. Hanging around with the wrong people will pull you down and not inspire you to fulfill your own greatness. And the third is you shouldn't give up too soon. It takes a lot of perseverance to be successful as an entrepreneur. It's a very different mindset and behavior than being an employee.
Give me one more.
One more, I would say, be really clear on what your metrics are for success. So avoid thinking about success and becoming despondent when you think you're not achieving it because you haven't set out clear metrics so you can determine how successful you are.
What is your greatest failure story? What did you learn and how did you recover from it?
Well, one of my big stories is very early on in my career. I was trained as an engineer, and right after I had my performance review, this was about 2 years, just a little over 2 years into the job. I had a great performance review and got a big raise. And a month later, my boss called me into his office and he said, "David, I have good news and bad news. The good news is you're doing a great job. The bad news is you don't have a job here anymore." And it was quite devastating at the time. It was not something that I anticipated, even though it should have been clear to me that the company I worked for had lost a lot of business. It wasn't clear to me that it was coming or when it was coming. And so I, along with about half of the employees, ended up collecting unemployment. So it was a real wake up, and I realized that I needed to have alternatives always ready to to take advantage of, because you never know what might happen. And so from then on, I learned how important it is to always have multiple scenarios that you can follow, um, given whatever circumstances may come about. Because you may plan, you could plan all you want, but your plans are very much dependent upon other people and other people's behavior. And so when the behavior of others forces you to make a change in your plans, if you're ready with plan B, you can act much more quickly if you weren't ready.
What are your top three success secrets that others can follow?
Well, number one is um, the same thing that I just alluded to, which is always have at least one plan B, and you're better off if you have multiple scenarios that you can pursue at any given point in time. Second is surround yourself with the right people. And the third is um, do what you can to take control of your destiny, and in particular, do it in a way that will provide as much opportunity and reduce the risks as much as possible. So, for example, one of the things as an entrepreneur that's really important is to diversify your revenue streams. So if you can have multiple revenue streams from different sources, it will help mitigate risk if there is something unforeseen that happens. So like last year, when the COVID restrictions took place quite suddenly, people that were dependent upon a single revenue source were experienced some great difficulty if that revenue source suddenly dried up. Whereas people that had multiple revenue sources, if one of those sources dried up, they still had others to rely on.
David, we are entering into a speed round. That means short questions and quick answers. Are you ready for it?
Go ahead, Mohammed.
What is the most impactful business book you have read, and what did you learn from it?
Well, Mohammed, I've read many business books. One that has had an impact on me is a recent book that came out called The Forever Transaction by it's by Robbie Kelman Baxter. It's a great book, and one of the things that Robbie talks about is where we are in terms of the way people buy, and the fact that subscription models are quite popular. And what that means is building a model into your business so that people are paying you a consistent amount every single month or every single year, or whatever the time period is. And that's one way to build recurring revenue. And in particular, you can do it in a way that also diversifies your revenue sources that will provide greater stability and consistency in your business.
What do you want to be remembered for?
Well, Mohammed, I believe that when that every individual has gifts, every team has gifts, every organization has gifts, and when we share our gifts, the world prospers. So I'd like to be remembered for one that helped others share their gifts with the world.
How do you overcome a challenge life throws at you?
Well, for one thing, one of the questions I ask myself, and this is a question I also ask others when they're facing great challenges, is what is the absolute worst thing that you can imagine that's going to be the outcome? And if that in fact does take place, what will you do about it? And the reality is, most of the time, the absolute worst thing we can imagine doesn't happen. But the fact that we know what we would do if it were to happen helps us get out of the bottleneck that we're in.
Once you have a revenue generating idea, how do you convince your significant other?
Well, I'm really blessed that that I have a very long and strong relationship with my significant other. And if the revenue generating idea is sound, she's very supportive. But if it isn't sound, she'll tell me, and then I better listen.
What do you want to do when you grow up?
Um, Yeah, actually, I think a better question is, who do you want to be when you grow up? Because what we do is really is an action step toward who we want to be. And I want to be someone who is helpful and supportive of the dreams that other people have, which is why I have the kind of business that I have, supporting consultants and coaches so they can do what they love and get paid what they're worth. So that's really how I would answer the question.
That is significant of talking to great people. They help you craft a question and do the answers as well. Thank you, David. I
Yes.
appreciate that.
What am I
What are you
grateful for
grateful
today?
for today?
Well, Mohammed, I'm grateful every day I get up in the morning and put 2 feet on the ground, and I'm grateful that I did that today. That's usually a good start.
Who is your living mentor and what is the impact they have on you?
Yeah, I would say my living mentor is Nella Barkley, who is um, the has been the driving force behind the life work design process for several decades. She's someone who has taught me and has guided me through many of the challenges that I've faced in my professional life, and she's also a very dear friend.
David, can I interview your mentor?
Um, I can certainly make the connection.
Thank you, David. Why is being impactful important to you?
Well, um, we all know when we were born, we don't know when we're going to exit the world. And so I think it's important that we view every day as the potentially the last time we will do something. The biggest regret that most people have at the end of their lives is things that they haven't done. So I think it's really important to, following up on the question that you asked about what you want to do, and I kind of rephrase as who you want to be. I think it's really important to be who you want to be every single day, so that you can have the greatest impact possible.
How do you start your day?
Um, I start my day with actually with a very short amount of time focused on gratitude. I think it's really important to have a gratitude mindset when you start your day. It really puts you in the right mindset to be able to have as much impact as possible.
Who is your ideal client?
My ideal client is a consultant or coach who's building her or his business following a long career as an employed professional. When you are an employee for many years, you develop deep expertise in a particular area, or maybe you have a set of skills that you become known for. And when you make the shift from being an employee to being an entrepreneur, there's a whole new set of skills that you need in order to be able to run a business successfully. And um, folks like that are generally really good at delivering great results to their clients, yet they may or may not have the um, the strongest set of skills to build their business so that their business will be successful. And I get great joy out of seeing people flourish when they're doing what they love, and they're also connecting well with clients and building a business that is successful, so that they can thrive themselves.
What is the advice you would give to your younger self?
When you're feeling fearful, anxious, and recognize that you're moving out of your comfort zone, that's a sign that you should take a step in spite of those uncomfortable feelings. That's the place where you're going to grow. And so do it with thought and with care, but don't hesitate to take the step.
How can we support you?
Well, like you, Muhammad, I also host shows. I host the podcast Smashing the Plateau and Going Solo. You can get them both at smashingtheplateau.com. We also have a great resource for entrepreneurs, particularly for consultants and coaches that are building their business following a long career as an employed professional. It's called 49 Tips. It's 49 tips from some of our most popular podcast episodes, one tip per episode. And if you just take two or three of those tips and employ them in your own business, it will help you achieve greater success. And you can get that at smashingtheplateau.com/tips, TIPS. So smashingtheplateau.com/tips.
What would you say about your guest experience on the show?
Mohammed, you are very well organized, and you provide some really thought-provoking questions.
What would you say as a final word?
Um, Pick one thing that you want to do today that you believe is going to help you grow, and make sure by the end of the day you've taken one step in that direction.
Thank you, David, for your time and wisdom. On the behalf of Entrepreneur Empowerment Club and our entire team, we really appreciate you. And I hope our path cross again with another amazing guest. Until then, you have a wonderful time. Bye.
Thank you so much, Mohammed.